Now is the time, a time you'll look back on, a time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time, this moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome, take over. The time is now.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. How was everyone today?
Hot.
It certainly is. I don't know what. Last time I checked, it was well into the 20s, high 20s up here in the northeast. I don't know what it's like for you, you guys today, but I think it's just a cool day compared to what's meant to be for the next 2 days or so. But anyway, welcome all of you who decided to join us on a Sunday night, and we haven't had these guys on for a while, but everyone loves to have them on together. So can we please welcome Mitch and Stu to the studio at the Goodfella Gurus?
Welcome, lads.
Welcome, boys.
Welcome back.
How are you?
Evening, lads. You all right?
Yeah, all good.
Good. Well, unfortunately, we weren't able to get on during June because we had that much on, but we did say we wanted to make it a monthly occurrence. So we obviously managed to get you on tonight. Have you been busy all the weekend? I take it the weather's probably similar to yourselves or to us over here. There is it?
What, 47 today where I am.
Wow.
It'll be colder than northeast tomorrow then.
Touching 48 here as well. And Stu usually has more humidity than I do here in Dubai. Bahrain's usually got a bit more humidity.
Yeah.
But listen, I left my wallet in the car the other morning. I went back to get it out, and I just would burn my hand taking it out of the bloody car. It was bloody ridiculous.
Yeah.
I suppose that's a foil for spending any more money, Mitch, isn't it? When they kind of touch it.
What's that like?
Too many gags I could come out with now, but I'll refrain.
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll soon see those towards the end of the show, won't we? But anyway, how I want to start the show anyway, because obviously there is a bit of history for today, unfortunately, and it's obviously Newcastle put a tweet out first thing this morning because it's 8 years to the day that unfortunately we lost John Alder and Liam Sweeney in tragic circumstances when they were on the trip to pre-season over in New Zealand, I believe it was. So we just everyone's basically from the channel wanted to have our thoughts to all of the Liam and John's families. Obviously, we're thinking of them at this difficult time for what was a horrendous moment in obviously their family side, but obviously, it's something that fans long live in the memory, and it's nice to do. There was a few touches today where we saw pictures of them on the big screen in St James's Park as well, as a memorial to them as well. So it's a nice touch from the club today. But was anyone that I don't know if that Stu, Mitch, did you happen to know any of them or anything like that from before you moved over to the Middle East? Or
Well, if you
John,
don't
yes.
mind me starting.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who went to enough away games and enough reserve games knew John. Gosh, the amount of times you'd see him here, there, and everywhere. The guy used to do ridiculous miles following the lads at all levels. And no doubt he will be doing lads and lasses now, because I know what he's like. He can't watch two teams of chickens play. The only bloke who could do a round trip to Oldham reserves on a Wednesday night in the 2 foot of snow, he'd be bloody there if he could. Unbelievable. And Liam used to get, well, he's a Shields lad. He used to get on some of the buses we used to get on every now and again. And it just, tragedy doesn't sum it up. And to have two of our fans caught up in something like that was, it's something that's still difficult to process 8 years on, really. And now with other things happening in the region, affecting, our mate Steve Bennett and his family, obviously, because their home is in Kiev. It's still sort of ongoing, and I've had discussions with people in the last 8 years about stuff going on in that part of the world that I thought I would never, ever, ever had. So, and for those lads and for the families, I think it's really nice that the club still remembers.
Yeah.
And long may that continue. Because certainly as a fan base, I think we all remember them. Like Stu said, you would have come across John at plenty of games, Stu.
Yeah, definitely, yes. I mean, where I was probably a bit too old for Liam, but with John, if you went to any number of away games, you would have seen him. In the years, the epitome of someone who bled black and white. Now you'd cut him and it would just be black and white straight through. But he was a part of a hardcore of fans that were like that. And I believe it was Malaysia that they were flying to, Richie. Yeah. And
it was on the way. Was it not a stop off on the way to New Zealand for the pre-season?
Yeah, the flight was on. The flight was from Amsterdam to Malaysia, wasn't it? But the sad thing is, and it's a phrase that's been coined a lot by more recently the Liverpool fans, but no fan should ever not return home from going to a game. And this was a friendly, and it shows the dedication that the lads had, and it's really fitting how for the first few seasons on the 70th minute there was always the round of applause, and how the club still remembers now. So it's something that's it's really difficult to comprehend that you go and watch your team play football and you don't come back, and if you can take anything out of it, it was, especially with John, for those who knew, I'm sure Liam would have been the same. They were doing something that they loved, and there's no excuse, there's no exception, there's no justification of it. And it's just a horrible thing that happened, and God rest them. God rest their souls. God bless them as well.
Yeah. Well, as I said at the start, obviously everyone from the Loaded Mag has the thoughts with the family and stuff like that. So that's what we'll leave it at that for the moment. Now, we always know that Stu and Mitch have got a bit of the comedic side to them. Okay, so what we've decided to do is with a spur of the moment member draw tonight. Now, the member draw is to give away one of the Shy Ben's Loaded Mag t-shirts, a colour of your choice. And we're basically, as I said, obviously you've got to be a member. And what you need to do is to be like obviously what Matt used to do. We need you to put your answers in the chat. Daz knows the answer. And he's going to be watching out for the first person who is a member to get the correct answer to the question. And that person will be named at the end of the show. However, what we did was we always asked the lads what they wanted to talk about when they come on the show. And I opened it. I said to Stu, he says, "Oh, look, just ask Mitch. Mitch will come up with something." So I asked Mitch. Then he came up with an answer. I told Stu and he went, "That's obviously his mastermind specialist subject." But what we want you to do is we want you to guess what is Mitch's specialist subject based on the initials T and F. Okay? So the first person who was a member, so if you're not a member, you've still got time to enter now before the end of the show and take part to get a free t-shirt from Shy Ben's. All you've got to do is be a member and get the correct answer to T and F. Okie dokie, so we'll leave that for a moment and we'll revise it at the end. Okie dokie.
And so, just a shout out to Ian that who has become a member just before you announced the competition. Actually, Richard,
well, you can start. Ian, well done. Thanks for joining. Obviously, appreciate anyone who joins the channel. You obviously put your answer in the chat if you've got a fun idea or the correct one, whatever. You just go for your balls. Let's make Daz's comment nightmare tonight by going through and bombarding the chat with all the answers. But it's time to talk about Newcastle, isn't it? So let's have a look at what's happened over the last few days. Obviously, we had a show on Friday night where we discussed the friendly results and stuff like that. So we'll just go basically try and touch on stuff that's happened over the last 24 hours. Now, one person that has moved on from who was obviously a Newcastle target that was last night had signed up a deal with PSG was this guy, Hugo Ekitike. And it was rumoured that there was a £35 million Euro deal. Sorry, that he'd gone to PSG, only for it to be confirmed by PSG that it's actually a loan for a season with the option to buy, which I think caught a few people by surprise. So, lads, I'll start with you, Pete. Pete, what was your thoughts on this? Because obviously, we've spoke about Ekatike quite a lot during Fully Loaded Transfer Show. Had a big insight from your brother because obviously he's a PSG fan and studies French football. But what did you make of the deal going ahead, but also how the deal's made up?
I wasn't surprised. Look, 2 weeks before this even became a thing, Lee had mentioned on our Fully Loaded Transfer Show that he felt that Ekatike's agent was holding him back in order to see if PSG's interest was going to come to fruition. Now, the key to that, and he did mention it on the show, is that Luis Campos, their new sporting director, wasn't in place yet. And traditionally, Luis Campos is well known for building young, hungry football teams. And that is what PSG were looking for. Now, we knew a while ago that the deal was all in place, that we'd agreed a fee, that we'd agreed personal terms. It was just the agent fees and stuff that we needed to sort out. And everyone thought it was kind of something that was going to be done quite quickly. Now, the longer that went on, the longer it looked like he was going to PSG. So not a surprise for me. What I have found a little bit strange is the negativity towards him on the back of that from Newcastle United fans. Look, if he wants to go to PSG, good luck to him. Just like Eddie Howe has said today. He said good luck to him, doesn't wish him any bad luck in his career. He thinks he's a quality player and has talked about that quite openly and wanted him at Newcastle. But you've got to understand that not every young player, not every player that we go for is going to want to come to Newcastle United. He's a young French player and sees PSG as the pinnacle for him and not Newcastle United at this moment. So I wasn't surprised by it. I thought, some of the negativity about bench warmer, trust me, he's going to play games next season. He is going to play lots of football next season for PSG because he is the future. So for me, good luck to him. He's made his decision, and look, we've got a pool of quality players that are going to come in and take that position that Hugo Ekatike was going to take, and we will be absolutely fine. I've got no worries whatsoever.
You're on mute, Rich.
Chris, what was your thoughts, mate?
I've got to be honest, I was quite surprised. Like Pete, I mean, I'll start off with the reaction of the fans. So I was disappointed that Ekatike, didn't come to Newcastle probably equally as much as the next person, but I didn't understand the way there was so much like venom towards him. Like, if you actually stand back and, see it for how it is, he stayed in France and he's joined the biggest team in France and he gets to play alongside the likes of Messi and Neymar and Mbappe. And I'm like, I struggle to criticize any young player who wants to go and do that. Like, best of luck to him, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, I am disappointed not to get him. I don't like the way he messed us around. But then on the other hand, you've got to look at it and say, well, if there's an opportunity or, someone whispers in your ear and says, listen, they might be in for you, and he decides to wait and take time on his decision, then, so be it. The one thing I am quite surprised about is like the structure of the deal, like the fact that he's gone on loan to PSG and there's only an option to buy at the end of the season. So like it almost feels like it's a free hit for PSG, isn't it? So I'd love to. We probably won't know it, but I'd love to know the structure of the deal. I'd love to know how much they've paid. I'm assuming they've paid them some kind of fee, surely, because it just feels like he's going there on loan for the season, and PSG are very much being able to try before they buy. I would have more expected to see like obligation in there or something like that, but for an option to buy, that's the most surprising thing for me. But in terms of him going there, I'm not really surprised. I don't blame the lad. I just wish we hadn't been messed around so much. But then equally, if we want to go for somebody and we identify them as our target from a positive point of view, I'm glad that our owners did that. I don't want us to be slapdash or just trying to get anybody and everybody. I'd rather us target people, and we saw that persistence pay off with Sven Botman. He was our target from a long time ago. I mean, we were after him in January, and we we secured that main target. But do you know what? Without sounding bitter, I think, as Pete said, you know, he probably will play some football. But I think in years to come, he may regret not joining Newcastle, because I can't see him breaking into the first team at PSG and really making a massive impression. I think there's far too many personalities, far too many big players there. And I think if he joined us and played for us for 2 or 3 seasons, then get you moved to PSG if that's where you want to be. I don't want to say the character of the player. He's only a young lad, but you know, I would have liked to have seen him, you know, take that plunge and come to the Premier League and come be part of this great journey. But equally, the fact that he hasn't, I don't wish any bad against him. I just think it's a predictable move, but not necessarily the right one, in my opinion. But hey, I could be wrong.
Daz, what did you think of Ekiteke's move then?
Well, first of all, Richie, I'm gonna say shout out to Geordie Mick, because I might forget it. Cheers to the donation, Geordie Mick, and hoping you're washing down that Nando's without your loaded mug, and you haven't got anything on your loaded t-shirt. But Ekiteke, what do I think? Look at it's been, we've known for a while that he's not come to us. It does look like he didn't want to leave France as well, and look, you can understand that as well. So look, we have not wasted, but we spent a bit of time giving them all the most opportunity to make a decision to come to us. It didn't happen. We move on. As Pete said, there's plenty more fish in the sea, or plenty more options available. So we'll shop around and pick up someone else similar. And who knows, whoever we do pick up in a similar age, similar kind of style of play, it may turn out that they might be a better prospect than Ekiteke. But so yeah, I'm not going to be too pissed off about it. Just move on. The team we have in there now will find someone else that will fit the bill.
Yeah. Now, it was interesting that obviously Loaded Mag's very own and Newcastle World, Jordan Cronin wrote a little bit about this today. And you got Eddie Howe's thoughts on Ekiteke snubbing Newcastle and go to PSG. And he basically just said, it's no secret that we really liked Hugo and we worked hard to try and do that deal. He's very talented lad and decided to go to PSG. I have no hard feelings toward him, wish him well in the next phase of his career. I really do wish him well. Stu and then Mitch, what did you make of those comments? Do you think that Newcastle pushed as hard as they could have to get Ekiteke? Or do you just think it was one where it was more what we've seen over the recent weeks, where it was mainly due to his representatives that was causing the issues of the deal becoming possible on a permanent basis to Newcastle?
I think it stems back to January, where his family advised him to come and the club agreed to sell him, and he got cold feet. And I'm sure I mentioned at the time, he's just a young kid moving countries, different language, and where we were in that time languishing the other bottom, you could understand him being hesitant about coming to Newcastle. But I want to echo basically what Chris said. You know, you're talking about PSG or the team in France, like Bayern Munich, or the team in Germany. And as a young kid, he's grown up admiring these players, these frontline players, and tell me that who wouldn't have the opportunity, if you granted you can go and play with Mbappe, you can go and play with Neymar, you can go and play with Messi. Now, even if it's just for one season, he'll learn from that. And we shouldn't really chastise a young kid for choosing to stay in his own country and go and live his dream. Now, whether that holds his progress back due to lack of playing time, or whether they'll give him playing time, a lot of these guys are always or not always, but often injured anyway. So I'm sure he'll get on and about. He'll only come on for it. But the fact that we pushed, and I think until recently, where we realised it wasn't going to happen, we pulled out. And rightly so, but it shows who we are competing with. PSG are one of the dominant forces now in world football. And we can't say that's because they've had money spent on them, because that's what we've got coming to us. So it's at the moment we can't compete with them, but we didn't have to give them a little run for their money in their own backyard as well. So I agree with Pete. I don't understand why people want to give him a hard time. His choice was to go to Paris Saint-Germain. Not everyone's going to come to Newcastle like we want, and we have a board we have a structure in place that will absolutely bring the best players that we can get at this moment in time to us. And if Ekatiki is not one of them, so be it. Move on. Next, as they say.
Mitch, your thoughts on it?
Very similar, really. I mean, you've got a player who was reticent to come in January, remained reticent to come, and really preferred to stay in France. And so, for me, I'd far rather not worry about, what he then goes on and do, and good luck to the lad. My understanding was Dan Ashworth shut the book on this a lot quicker than people realise, particularly once the agent started making some strange demands. When you've got an agent who's pretty much asking permission from the Queen for his player to eat a swan every other Friday and wants a Vestal Virgin to deflower for every goal he scores, it starts to get a bit stupid. And I'm glad we don't give in to those kind of demands. I think we've made a statement in January, and I think we've made a statement this summer. Also with Botman's people regarding hanging on for AC Milan. But in the case of Botman wanted to come to Newcastle and was excited by the project. And his interviews since he's arrived have pretty much made that clear. If we weren't going to get that from Ekatike, then we don't want it. We don't need it. You don't want somebody who doesn't want to be here. Let him move on. Good luck to the lad. The thing that fascinates me is this loan with option to buy from PSG. From a financial fair play point of view, it makes me question, are they unwilling or unable to drop 30 million on a young player right now and want to nudge that on in accountancy-wise by moving the deal as a loan, there'll be a loan fee, no doubt, involved with that. But that's very kind of Reims to acknowledge that they can have a loan fee at a lower amount than what they would have got up front for us. It would have been quite easy for Reims to say no, shut off. So obviously, though, however, I think the players got a good relationship with them, with the manager and the owner at Reims. And so obviously there's been a dialogue that's been able to have there, and maybe PSG have been able to find swans to feed him every Friday or something. I just don't know, but you wish him the best of luck. He's got the move he wanted, and we move on as well. And like I say, I know people are saying about wasted time. I think you find when Dan Ashworth came in, he shut the book on this one pretty quickly, to be fair. I think a lot of the residual talk was exactly just that. It was paper talk. I think it was quite clear that the player was hanging on for PSG, the agent was hanging on for PSG, and Dan Ashworth was already saying, right, now we'll move on. I think people are reading too much into Craig Hope's article today as well. That's been released this evening about, without Ekatike, we're going to move on with just Wilson and Wood. I think you'll find that's probably talk to keep silly transfer figures down and to calm the market down at the minute while we're getting my house in order. We don't need to look desperate for a striker, because if we rock up to say, I know we've been linked with another young French lad who apparently is available for 15 million. But if we look desperate, are they going to turn around and say, well, that's 30 million, please, because that's the Newcastle tax? Because we're going to be subject to that. And as Stu rightly says, we're going toe-to-toe with PSG in their own backyard. Without the full season of PIF owning the club, we're already rattling people in their own backyards. This is significant, because now we've made some significant changes behind the scenes. And we're a different beast to deal with. And you're going to find a lot of things that have been maybe not ideal in the early stages of PIF's ownership are going to change very, very quickly. And how we do business on the transfer window, for all they did, I think, exceptionally well in January. I think you find we've got, 7 weeks left of this window open? There's still a lot of time to do things. And people are really kind of, we're starting to worry about things that are might be's, ifs and maybes. Let's worry about the things we need to worry about, and trust the process. I know I sound like a broken record at the minute, but we've got people in place that can allow that process to happen properly, like an actual functional football club, not with Penfold and his dusty phone who doesn't have a bloody clue what he's doing and just says, yes, Mike. We're a different animal. And so, yeah, good luck to him. I hope he does really well at PSG, and I hope the transfer then becomes permanent for him and he gets absolutely everything he wants. But I think it says more about the state PSG are at the minute, that it's loan to buy. There's more to that than meets the eye, I think.
Do you think that could be down to I'll ask Pete this. Pete, do you think, this is a follow-on, George Hayes, thank you very much for the donation. It's the second big donation you've done this week for us. Really, really appreciate the gesture. We always do. And thank you very much for keep supporting the channel. So, Pete, just do you think that the FFP that Mitch just mentioned could be like around the Messi deal? Because I believe Messi's into his final year of his contract now, isn't he? So obviously that'll be saving a lot on his wages every single week because he'll be on a very, very high salary, isn't he?
Yeah, I think this is the point that I was going to come back into, is that FFP is massively within their thoughts. PSG have got a lot of players that they want to get rid of. Keylor Navas, they're looking at Kimpembe going to Chelsea. They're looking at Ander Herrera, Paradise, Icardi, to get him out the books in order for Ekitike to take his place. They are looking to get rid of a lot of players off the books. So having this as a loan with an option makes sense. Now, a lot of people have forgotten. It wasn't only a few years ago that PSG had a deal in place, a loan with an obligation to buy for Kylian Mbappe for 162 million. So it's not like it's not happened before. PSG are very, very astute in their business. And actually, everyone, like, to be fair, on the Geordies down south chat, there was a few people this morning going, it's a loan. Why is it a loan for? And going mad about it. I'm saying, hold on a second. It's not the first time they've done it, and it won't be the last time that PSG have done it. This is how they operate in order to escape FFP. This is what they do. So I'm not surprised by this at all, and they need to do this. And as it's already been alluded to, Messi will probably only stay one more season, so therefore you will have a huge chunk of wages and a huge chunk of finances that will be there available for next season to sign on a permanent deal, the likes of Ekitike. If he performs and if he doesn't suffer any injuries, and what it also does is allow them to really boost the team in the way in which they want to, because trust me, in the next 2 or 3 years, PSG will build a much younger, hungrier team to be able to compete on the highest level, because that's exactly what they need.
Yeah, they'd be much cleverer in dealing with certain potential FFP issues than the absolute blind madness that Barca are doing at the moment. You know, you couldn't get two different examples if you tried of teams with money actually knowing how to use the FFP, whereas Barcelona are just spending their way out of madness, mortgaging their future and hoping that Super League appears to save them at the end of the day. And it's a very different way of managing it, and I think it's it is clever from PSG, it really is. But also it shows the influence they have over all the other French clubs, that they can do that with Mbappe at Monaco, and they can do that with this with Reims, that people will just genuflect and get on with it and do it.
Yeah. I think the lad that you were talking about, and I think Pete is wanting to cover him during Full Transfer Show on Thursday with Graham Bailey, is Sekou Mara from Bordeaux, who got relegated, and he's a fantastic young player. But so if you want to have a look at him in between, obviously this show and the next one at the end of the week, go and have a look. He's a very, very talented young player, but obviously we will go into depth about him a bit more on Thursday, because I know Pete's got a few things he wants to say in regards to him later in the week. Now, just going back on to what Mitch mentioned there about Craig Hope's article about possibly going forward with just Callum Wilson and ready to gamble on him being the main striker. Chris, what did you make of that when you saw that earlier on? Were you thinking, is it the right thing to do? Is it a bit dangerous? We've been in this situation before with having Callum Wilson as predominantly the only main striker. What did you make when you saw that?
I'll be honest, Rich, when I first seen it, I just hoped it wasn't true, if I'm honest. Because for me, I think if we go into the new season, assuming Dwight Gale goes, which I think we all expect him to, and think he will, and even if he doesn't, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the squad anyway. I think if we go into the new season with Callum Wilson and Chris Wood, I'll have concerns, because as much as I rate Callum Wilson, I think he's a really, really fantastic striker. We all know that, to get a full season out of him isn't something that's happened a lot recently. That's not to say that he can't do it. I just think that, given the odds and looking at previous seasons, it looks like that's not the case. I mean, my stance has changed over the past few months, because at first I was, hoping that we'd bring in a striker who was going to be up there, possibly better than Callum Wilson, somebody like a big name striker. But my feeling on that over the last few weeks and months has changed now. And I'd be more than happy to have, a young, promising striker who is in and around the squad and who can come in and do a job for Callum Wilson and, learn his trade, learn from the other players around him. And that's why I'm hoping that, we look to maybe do a loan deal or something like that. I think that's the bare minimum for me. I know we've been linked with Callum Muendo, who's the young striker at PSG, someone of that ilk. And then, we're hearing today that it looks like Brozier's going to West Ham. Players like that who can come in, do a job, but won't necessarily expect to start week in, week out. I do feel that is something we need. I acknowledge that right winger is probably the priority position. And I know us lads spoke, didn't we, about, we look at Liverpool and Man City of previous years or previous seasons, and they had a front three that were very interchangeable. Like we've seen Mane play as the number 9, we've seen Salah play as the number 9. Man City haven't had a striker for over a year, but I find it interesting that this season they've gone out and they've forked out the big money for the likes of Darwin Núñez and Erling Haaland. And I just think, not saying that we're in that bracket at the moment, but I would be worried if we went into the season with just Callum Wilson and Chris Wood. I do feel like we need some sort of option there. I mean, I think going into the season with 3 strikers would be okay, given the fact that, we do predominantly play with 3 up top now, so your 2 wingers and your main striker through the middle. So I think you get away with 3, but like I say, for me, I think we definitely need a backup to Wilson.
Yeah, Daz, I'll just put that picture up saying that it looks like Brozier is set to join West Ham according to the Daily Mail. And obviously, that's someone that we have been linked to. We've talked about on this channel numerous times during Full Load Transfer Show and other shows that we've done. Do you think we should have pushed a little bit harder to get him, or do you think he wasn't potentially interested in coming to Newcastle? Obviously, West Ham can offer him European Conference football. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so he's at Chelsea. He went to Southampton, and so now it looks like going to West Ham. So it's fairly south that he's staying. So maybe he didn't fancy the move up to Newcastle. Well, something different to change the scenery for him again. But no, I think he's not. I'm not overly upset that he's going to West Ham. No, I just think there's someone out there for us that will tick all the boxes. Keep looking. There's still plenty of time left. It's 6 weeks before the window closes, and as Mitch says, okay. And as Chris says, you first glance at the piece from Craig Hope, you do kind of go, oh shit, what are we going to do now? Wilson gets injured the first couple of games, we would. But yeah, no, I think we're going to bring in someone else. It's what we need for the start of the window. It's going to get sorted. There's a few things we wanted to sort first, so. Look at I think what we said as well in a couple of the Fully Loaded Transfer shows, they may just pull us a few surprises out of the bag as we get closer to the end of the window. So I'm hoping a striker is one of them.
Yeah. Just a quick update on the member giveaway. So if anyone who wasn't here at the start, to win a Shy Ben's Loaded Mag t-shirt, you had to give us the correct answer to what Mitch's specialist subject is. Now, we will actually say that the correct answer has been given in the chat. However, the answer was given by non-members. So they've either got to sign up to become a member for their answer to be correct, or someone who else is a member could actually nab the prize for them. So all you've got to do is name what Mitch's specialist subject is from those 2 initials. Okie dokie. Right, just going on to the next part. It's a little bit about, and there's some more rumours coming through from Craig Hope. Deal for Moussa Diaby remains too expensive at NUFC, and Jack Harrison also very difficult, likely because of the demands of Leeds, which Magpie 24/7. So Leeds, are rumoured to want more than 35 million to sell Jack Harrison to Newcastle. Stu, I'll come to you first. Have you heard anything in regards to Moussa Diaby? Obviously, I know you and Mitch have got some contacts, from the club and also in the Middle East. Have you heard anything different to what Craig Hope is? Is the deal possibly still ongoing? Have they put it on the back burner? And that's not going to go back up during this window.
I know that he is a priority, but I do laugh when people say we've been priced out of it. I mentioned something when I was doing Three Amigos with Mitch and Keith and Steve Race the other day. The people who own us are worth $1.4 trillion. Who on earth's going to price us out of it if we want it? There's a difference between being priced out and not seen as fair value. So we're going to get linked with lots of people. I do know DRB is something that the hierarchy are keen on. And also with Paqueta, they didn't plan to get him this window because of the way the system want to play. But at the same time, if we don't go for him and he signs for, say, someone like an Arsenal, what that then does is enhance them, strengthens them, and it'll slightly weaken us. And these are the positions that we're aiming for. So the phrase that Mitch has used all through this transfer window, and probably before that, it's fluid. If the value is there, the clubs are playing hardball, and you can't blame them. But I do think our fan base can be overreactive at times. When they do unite, we're the best fan base by a country mile. But it's amazing how they can take one journalist as verbatim, the other one is just clickbait. Some of it will be with knowledge, some of it will be guesswork, but just also consider these guys have a job to do and they've got a job to keep. And a lot of it is based on how many clicks they get onto their articles. So some are more accurate than others. We don't need to mention names on the ones who are probably deemed to be least accurate. But if Jack Harrison is priced at £35 million, can we afford that? Yes, we can. Are we likely to pay it? Probably not. If DRB is valued at £50 million, can we pay it? Will we pay it? I would say yes. But there's not just that part of the transfer, is it? You've got to understand that does a player want to come? Does he see himself as bigger than Newcastle at the moment? Is he going to be sold on the project? The fact it's a gamble for him to move closer to the World Cup. So there's a lot of persuasiveness that needs to be done. But there's something that we've been pretty consistent of throughout. The people who own us now want us to get better. As much as we do, they really want us to get better. And they're putting their money in, and we're talking millions. Not us paying an extra couple of quid on a ticket. They're spending millions and millions of pounds to make us as successful as we've ever dreamed of. And we've got to let them do it. And it's just pretty close to what we're talking about Ekitike. If we don't get the top target, there'll be another one. If not, there'll be another one. But this squad will be so much stronger come the end of the window than it was at the start of the window. And if people don't want to come to us, why would you pay extra money just to tempt them anyway? You've got to have people who are going to buy into the ethos of it. One word I keep using is chronology, and that's when you're looking at Eddie Howe saying things like, I'm happy to run with Wilson and Wood. I think we all know that he will sign the centre forward, but I've been a big fan of Wilson, and I know a lot of other people are. He is, to me, if we're aiming to be in the top 7, tell me there's another 7 number 9s in the Premier League currently better than him if he's playing every week. And there isn't. And so the key factor is keeping him fit. We know behind the scenes he's doing a lot less travelling now. He's going to base himself in the northeast to all it, and he's got a different fitness regime. I think they'll look after him a lot more carefully. But yes, we do need someone that's going to complement him, someone that could be similar to him. And I did mention on Friday someone who's very close to Pete's protégé, as we could call him. And that's Shea Adams. And I know I'm linked with the fact that he plays for Scotland. But if anyone has watched him play, he's very similar to Callum Wilson. And the way he likes to play off the shoulder, the way he's a willing runner. He'll do the dirty work. He doesn't mind getting stuck in. He has great vision. He's got a good finish. And there's loads of things. To me, he'd be a quality backup. And you'd be signed on it. And he'd sign... I'm not saying he's coming. It's just an example of the type of player I think that would suit us. Because we have lots of people with short memories who forget. Even when we all regale about get misty-eyed about the Keegan years, they had Cole and Beardsley, and then Ferdinand come in, and then Shearer come in. But the people who played a massive part in that squad was your Malcolm Allens and your Alex Matthews and your Paul Kitsons. These are the type of players that can come in, know the role, know that they're not going to be starting as soon as the main man's fit, But if you bring in someone who's as good as Wilson or better or more expensive, we'll lose Callum Wilson. We're back to square one. Chris Wood, again, I don't get the hate for him. I think he did a fantastic job when he came in. He got us 10, 15 yards further up the pitch, which allowed us to get the goals and give the defenders a bit of a breather. He had a job to do, and he, to me, carried out to the letter. Is he going to be the one that gets us into the Champions League? Probably not. Is he worth bringing on when we've got some defending to do, or we need to do some aerial bombardment the last 10 or 15 minutes to nick a point or even to win? He absolutely is. So, who will we get? I'm still thinking we'll get Diaby. I think we'll still get Paqueta. And I still think Shelby or ASM will be moved out.
No, but Mitch, obviously, as the second part of it was this bit that, they were possibly looking at Jack Harrison for 35 million. Now, Stu's already said that 35 million is probably a bit high for Jack Harrison. I think it is. I don't know what your thoughts are. But say, for example, if they're looking at players at that sort of amount, would you have a suitable alternative that could fit that sort of mold that you think would be more attainable?
Off the top of my head, no. And to be honest with you, is 35 too much for Harrison? I mean, I saw quite a bit of him last season, obviously, watching quite a few Leeds games, and he always seemed to be in the mix. He always seemed to be doing something. He seemed to come off the bench and score crucial goals and make crucial assists. And I think if you look at his record over the last 2 seasons, it's actually very similar to Richarlison, who's gone down to Spurs for 60. And so it depends on how you're going to assess somebody's worth or value. 35 does, on the face of it, seem a little high. I don't think we would go for him at that. Somewhere in the 20s, though, I think that would be a good signing for him. I think he'd bring something to the table. He knows the Premier League. He's experienced in the Premier League. And like I say, last season he seemed to be always doing something when it comes to creating something for Leeds when they needed something quite badly. So in terms of alternatives, to be honest with you, I haven't looked past the two with both Diaby and Harrison as a right-wing alternative, because I think the other thing a right-wing upgrade would bring is take a bit of pressure off St. Maximin and maybe make him look like a better player and give him more opportunities to do things. So I think it's how do you put the value on that player? Because if you want to do it just off straight figures, his figures are similar to Richarlison over the last 2 years in terms of assists and goals. So where do you pitch that bar? And I've seen today on Twitter somebody saying if it was Giacchini Harrisoni and he was Italian, would people be saying, oh yeah, 35, yeah, we'll have him. Yeah, maybe he just isn't sexy enough because he's a younger English player. But look, I'm quite happy to roll with whoever Eddie thinks fits the system and fits the squad and fits the team, and trust that at the minute. I don't think we can do anything else but, and I think it would be churlish to do anything else but. It's like give them this is the first proper window that they've had really, where they can get their ducks in a row. Ashworth's in place. We now have a CEO in place, and we look like a functional football club, a functional high-end football club, and we're already making people like PSG wet their knickers. So, let's bring it on. Let's trust the process about who they're going to go for. Stu's right. I've felt all about this window as fluidity. There'll be a number of targets for a number of positions, and the budget will be fluid, because if somebody's perceived to be good value, it will be daft not to make the signing now if it was an opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Totally agree with you.
I was going to say there, well, just add on what Mitch said, I'm struggling to think where the mistrust has come from, like off the owners and off the manager. I mean, what have they done apart from everything right since they've come in? So it's like, have they delivered? Yes. Has Howe excelled? Yes. Is Ashworth a proven director of football? Absolutely, yes. It's all right saying we want to get there quicker, and we're all playing fantasy football here, or football manager, or let the ones who are actually paid handsomely well to do it, the ones who have got the pressure to do it, they'll get the people in that they want, or someone that'll fulfill the role. Remember when Andy Cole went and how upset everyone was? We took Keith Gillespie as a part of the deal. No one wanted that. No, Man United reject. We don't want him. He didn't do too bad for us, did he? So it's a lot of it is about how the manager sees them. And someone like Eddie Howe, as we know, has had dialogue with Kevin Keegan. He's got an eye for a footballer and says, like, this is the type of player I want. That's for that particular type of role in this team. And he'll give a list. His job now is to train the players he's got. He doesn't have to be doing all these burning the candles at both ends and trying to juggle as many balls and spin as many places as he can. He can actually focus on what he's exceptionally good at and let people focus on what they're exceptionally good at and let it work in the wheel that Dan Ashworth referred to, where he's the middle part and he can start pushing the strokes out in the right way.
Yeah. Just a shout out to Sean Casey, who will be on the show next Sunday night. And it's literally just for a tweet that he put out. Obviously, everyone knows he's a friend of the channel, and he's been on quite a few times. And he's in regular contact with a lot of the lads with the channel. Sometimes they meet, so you might reach out to Stu and Mitch as well. But Pete, I'll come to you on this one because obviously we've mentioned quite a few transfers, possibly people who were rumored to come in who could still be coming in. But he always does these. He's like I said, or he goes back to a tweet he said before. Now, he mentioned this obviously yesterday. We have become a brand on the pitch before you have to come on the pitch. Sorry, off the pitch. I get the feeling we will be breaking our transfer record soon. And then he's retweeted it today with the egg timer. So if he believes that we could be breaking our transfer record very soon, who do you think it could be, Pete?
It could be anyone, to be honest. Any one of the players that we've been linked with. It won't be the likes of people like Jack Harrison. I've talked about him before. Good player, but we don't need to sign a left winger because we've already got one. We need to sign a right winger. If you look at the way and his positioning, Jack Harrison plays predominantly on the left-hand side. I don't think he's played on the right-hand side at all this season in 32 starts. Scored 10 goals in all competitions. Good player, but not the right player that we need to sign, and certainly not what we're going to be spending 35 million plus on as a signing. That's for sure. If we're going to break our transfer record, which I believe we will do, and I'll talk about that in a second, it will be on a right winger or a striker. It's as simple as that, because they're the two key positions that we need. Now, there's all this talk about, why haven't we broke our transfer record yet? Why are we not signing these players, this, that, and the other? Stu, Mitch have already quite rightly alluded to the fact that, can we spend that money? Of course we can. We've got the money there. We can go and put that money down tomorrow, today, right now, if we wanted to, and buy those players. But what does that do with 6 weeks to go in the transfer window? It means nothing, because all it does is it tells everyone that actually they have got money, and then anyone else we're going to sign in the next 6 weeks, they're going to go, well, you've got money, so therefore here's what we want, an extra 15 or 20 million pound on the deal. So it doesn't make sense with 6 weeks to go. Now, of course, we would want every player to be in before the start of the season, and traditionally, we don't get players until the end of the window, normally under previous owners. But the fact that we've got the likes of Target, Pope, Botman in early doors, that they're in Austria right now, training, integrating with the lads, they are the key positions that we need for Newcastle United at this point. We've got two right wingers, we've got two strikers, not the ones that we want particularly, but we've got them to go into the season. But we needed a Botman, we needed a Target, we needed a Pope to really solidify the team. If you're going to go and spend big money, you're going to go and spend it towards the end of the window where there's no comeuppance, there's no backdrop after it, there's no issues at the back of it, because at that point, when you've spent that money, you can go, summer deal done, we're out of there, we've got what we need, let's focus on the season. So in terms of what player we're going to sign, I don't know. We've been linked with players left, right, and centre. We've been linked with players today. We've been linked with players yesterday. But do I believe it'll be one of those players? Definitely. Who that is, I don't know, because as Mitch has very rightly said and talked about for probably about a month now, it is a very much a fluid situation. And when that deal fits right for Newcastle, they'll go, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
100%.
we've mentioned that on this channel a few times as well. We've said, when we've talked about Luke Edwards saying, we've got a 50 million transfer budget, and you see other people say this. I think that, it goes with the fluidity speech again, that Newcastle, can spend X amount of money, however much they want, if the deal is right for the club, for the right player at the right price. So, there's nothing to say, we might not spend anymore. I believe we will. But at the end of the day, we're not going to put a cap on how much we possibly could. It could be one more player, it could be two, it could be three, we don't know. And that's the joy of the transfer window. And I'd much rather be in this position than where we were 12 months ago, haggling over a Joe Willock fee and possibly whether we were going to get Hamza Chowdhury through on the last day of the window as well. So, right, lads, I'm going to start with that.
Sorry, just a quick one. In many ways, since Dan Ashworth come in, the club's become a very different beast. The club's locked down a lot harder in terms of things getting out and what people are talking about and what people are letting out and what people can and can't talk about openly. And I think that's a good thing. It's an absolutely good thing that we will just do our business in our own time, our own way, and when there are deals right for us, it will be done. It's as simple as that.
That's something I actually mentioned the other night when I said, it would be nice to go back to the days where you didn't have all the transfer rumours, you were just surprised, but all of a sudden someone said, right, Newcastle have agreed a deal with such and such. You do not always have all these social media rumours and stuff like that. It would be nice just to get things done there and then. Right, Daz, I'm going to start with you and we'll work our way around to Chris, Pete, and then back to Mitch and Stu. Now, an interesting a statement was released by Bruno Guimaraes over the last couple of days. And the reason why I wanted to discuss this was because obviously, his statement can be said a few ways. Obviously, people can say they're excited by what he's saying. He's come here for the right reasons. But then there's a few people that they're always the glass half full, negative and looking at the wrong way. That he's basically saying, look, if we don't achieve it, he's going to move on. So of course, what he actually said was, of course, we dream of the Champions League, but I tell you, it's step by step, and we don't need to put pressure on ourselves. Today is only the beginning of the Premier League and is the most difficult competition in the world, so we need to stay calm. And eventually, step by step, we can arrive there. Daz, what did you make when you saw Bruno's statement over the weekend? Were you on the positive, took that as a positive side, or did were you one of the negative ones?
No, I take that as more a calming kind of statement, because when he arrived, I remember he was talking about the Champions League, and then you, with all this talk of Lucas Paqueta, people are even thinking if he rocks up at Arsenal, is Bruno going to head to Arsenal in a bit of time? And if he doesn't make his way to Newcastle, so I think he's just kind of laying it all out there. Look, it is a process, it's a project, it's step by step. Look, first of all it was to stay in the league. Now, then it's this next season is to cement our place in the top half the league, and who knows after that? Anything else is a bonus. But he's just being realistic, and because people are going to start calling him out and going, okay, yeah, you mentioned the Champions League when you arrived, but now they're trying to make stories out of it. They're trying to make out that he's unsettled, and especially if Paqueta doesn't rock up with us. So I take it as a positive, and no way did I look at it as a negative. He's here for the long term as well. He wants to grow with us. So yeah, nothing to worry about on that one at all.
Chris?
I just had to unmute that. Bruno's going nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And do you know what? No one could afford him anyway. Because imagine the money we want for him. I mean, I think I liked his statements, to be honest, because it very much, like Daz said, it very much felt like a calm and just like we're getting there. We'll take time. We'll do what we do and let's just enjoy the ride. And I think that's the message to all the fans. There's no mad hurry. Obviously, if we got it in the next year, 2 years, European football, I think we'd all be really excited about that. But, we've waited so long. We've waited patiently for so long. And now I think it's just about enjoying it. I mean, when was the last time we all look forward to a season as much as we are right now? Like, I'm literally counting down the days. Like, this season is just going to be such a journey. There will be bumps along the way. There will be times where, we'll be a bit disappointed, or, we might be calling for people's heads and going, oh, we need to upgrade him. We need to get rid of him. but it's a slow process. We can't just go out and splurge and buy 10, 12, 15 new players. We all said, didn't we, lads, when we did the squad games video? Realistically, there's probably anywhere between 10 and 15 players that we'd want to move on. I know Keith said as much on Free Amigos. Keith would have scrapped the whole team, but it's a slow process. You can't just go in and go gung ho and do that. As Stu was saying before, we want to box clever. We don't want to show everyone our hands, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? Like we've got to do this in a sensible way. And one thing we don't want to do is get ripped off. And I think the owners having that approach is absolutely correct. We want to do it all within financial fair play. We don't want to get ourselves in trouble. We don't want anyone, flashing the spotlight on us, because believe it, we all know if there's an opportunity for someone to punish Newcastle or do something, they'll probably take it. So there's no hurry. I think we all just enjoy the ride, and I've got no doubt at all that Bruno is absolutely loving it here. I mean, every time, our social media people, when there's pictures being taken of him, we saw at the start of our show in the intro, where at the end of the game when Amanda embraced Bruno. He's absolutely loving it here, so I've got no concerns over it. I actually thought it was a very very mature thing to say, if I'm honest, for such a young lad. He's come out and said, "Listen, let's just everyone stay calm. Let's just enjoy it, and good things come to those who wait," as they say.
Pete,
Bruno Guimaraes is loving life as a Newcastle United player right now. He is the main man. He is the best player at the football club. It's as simple as that. And he is just trying to give a true reflection of where we're at right now. And all power to him. The one thing I'll say is that, and people might not like this, is that it won't last forever. We will need to be playing at least European football in 2 years' time. We will need to be playing Champions League football in 3 years' time. Because let's not forget, Bruno Guimaraes is 24 years old. It'll be 27, the best, nearly close to 28 in 3 years' time. And if we're not playing Champions League football, if he's still playing at the level he is, he could go to the very top. He could play for Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, Liverpool, PSG, whoever. And at that point, I think, regardless of our power, they would be in a position, if we're not playing Champions League football, to say, okay, you're a good player. You need to be playing at the top level. Do I believe we'll be playing Champions League in 3 years' time? I think we'll be very, very close to it. And what's not been talked about enough, and Mitch, Stu, you might know a little bit more about this, is that the Champions League revamp in 2024 that could potentially allow an extra team to play Champions League football. And if we're at the top of the coefficient, that could allow us in 3 years' time and being a superpower in terms of continue being able to financially be strong, get us to playing Champions League football without finishing in the top four. Don't know what your thoughts are on that, Mitch, Stu.
Well, I mean, for me, Bruno Guimaraes is one of our crown jewels, and he's saying the right things because other players are going to want to come and say, hey, I want to play with him. And he's shown a great degree of calmness and leadership. Eddie Howe talks about leadership all over the dressing room, and it's quite clear he is a leader in the dressing room of one form or another. The guys like him, they really gel with him, and they want to play with him, and that'll attract more players like attracts like. And so I think that's a really calm statement. And also bear in mind, and Stu says this more often than I do, players aren't here just to play games. They want us at the top table as soon as physically possible. And they'll be ruthless about how they want to do it. And that's, I think everybody inside the club will be well aware of that. That they hire the best people for the best jobs, but also they're very quick to make changes if it's not going the way that they're happy about. So I think to have an air of calmness around the dressing room is really important. Somebody who's just saying, well, like he does on the pitch, put his foot in it and take his time and pick the right move to make. And he's just done that verbally.
Yeah, I think he's been, if you read the first comments that Trippier and him made when they both signed, they were both talking about getting into Europe and Champions League, etc. And I think this statement is more to temper expectations and maybe douse the flames of expectations a little bit. And because of his iconic status already, he is an icon on Tyneside, isn't he? It's more likely to be accepted if someone like Bruno says, "Oh well, lads, just chill. No, we'll do our best. We'll get there. Just calm it down." I mean, had it been one of the lesser lights in the squad, without pointing names at people, had come out and said that, then then off we go again. It's another outcry. But Bruno at the moment is doing his very best to walk on water and pressure and getting away with it. And that's simply because every single fan would lie under the water to let him walk over just to get to the other side. He's that good. He has transformed our attacking formation, and as the rest of the lads have rightly said, people will want to come and play with him. They will see how much he has changed, how much freedom and joy he has in his football. I think, I want a part of that. And it'll all be part of how they pitching it. And I'm sure when they're approaching players, people like him, people like Trippier, people like Botman, they're no mugs. These are quality international players. And we've got 3. Now, we can do it one or two ways by adding. We can just buy anyone who's got a price tag and then follow the Everton route, which we all know is not successful. So we should stop asking for that. Or we could look at targeting players that we really need, or areas that we really need, and make a short list and then get the highest one on that list available into that place to help us move up that league as quickly as possible. Because we are going to go higher. We will finish higher than 11th. It's just a case of how much higher. And we could spend 150 million on 2 players, 200 million on 2 players, but that doesn't mean that's going to get us the Champions League if there's players' attitudes aren't right. I've seen where another person we were linked with today was at Memphis Depay from Barcelona. He'd want to come for a king's ransom. But I think from the outside looking in, you could think his attitude wouldn't be fitting off the squad that we've got and the teamwork that goes into it. So there's a lot of things that, the coin and phrase of ticking boxes. But with Bruno, he is a leader. He's the face of the club. The captain obviously is Trippier, but there's a lot of leaders out there now. You could call Callum Wilson a leader. You could call Shaw a leader. You can call Botman a leader. You can call Nick Pope a leader. Dubravka. We're filling ourselves with leaders, and it's a special place that we are. Just think where we were 12 months ago, going into the season, and I think every single Newcastle fan, if they had to put their hand on the heart, would have expected us to get relegated last season. That was pre-takeover with Bruce, no money to spend. The only money that we did get was on Joe Willock, and that was a player we already had. So in effect, we were going backwards. We will spend more money, but we'll spend it at their time on the right person that they see fit for their project. And we just have to trust them. And there's no reason why we shouldn't. There's no reason to doubt them.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, we've just reached the hour mark, and we've got over 300 watching on a Sunday night, so thank you very much. We always appreciate that. Daz, while we're having the first hour, do you want to do the sponsors?
Sure. Let's go to the sponsors. Switch over to do that. Yeah. So shout out to Shy Barnes and Simon, who's been in the chat, and he's going to give away the t-shirt as well tonight that people have been guessing. I've been entertained with some of the guesses that are coming on, so I missed half of what everyone's talking about. But also he does the loaded t-shirt, as we mentioned, and he has the loaded mugs and water bottles as well. Also shout out to Pins and Prints, Dean, and who has a range of lovely prints and pins, as everyone knows by now. Also shout out to Retro NUFC, and constantly changing his merchandise there. And I believe I saw something about a 15% discount today, I think. So check that out. Go follow him on Twitter as well.
50% it was a 24-hour discount, 15% off until midnight tonight. And he's also, as we've been mentioned on the recent show, he's got he's going to be at Tynemouth Market on the Saturday morning of the Bilbao friendly with loads of his retro stock. So why don't you take yourself down there, treat yourself to a bargain before you go to the Bilbao game.
Cool. Shout out as well to Machine House and the range that Martin and the crew have in Machine House, new Newcastle brand this launch, or maybe not Newcastle brand, but Newcastle-based company. So they has lovely hoodies and t-shirts, and go check out them on the site, and make sure you sign up for the mailing list, and you'll get 10% off there as well. So check all that out. That's it for the sponsors, Richie. We'll probably leave what's coming next towards the end of the show.
Yeah, no bother. Well, I've got one little thing to show first. Just I want to say well done to the under-21s for their win yesterday over Elche. I thought that was a fantastic result over at the link there. I don't know what you guys thought. Anyone read what was the Elche lineup like? Was it a decent lineup, or was it just more mix and match? But to be fair, I still think it's a fantastic result, and it's one that the under-23s can use take going forward. Anyone? No?
No. Glad they won. I saw Alex Murphy got a run out as well. He got to have the second 45 minutes. So, yeah. Long may it continue.
Were you going to say something, Stu?
Oh, yeah, Stu's on mute.
I know.
I'll just get myself off mute. I think it's good that we're playing teams in Europe and getting the name of Newcastle United back out there again as well.
Yeah.
Which is more important rather than just playing nationally. We're now going international again. And it's something that we've discussed, I know Mitch and myself have on NUFC Matters, the building, not just the first team, but the whole squad. You know, each level, they're improving and bringing players in, and it creates a buzz factor. And winning is a good mentality to have, and success breeds success. So it's great to see them doing well, and long may it continue.
Yeah. It's an interesting point because it actually takes into our, the first question of the viewers' questions there. We'll move on to the next stars that you've got started. But there's Jerry he put one on Twitter, and he wanted to ask Stu and Mitch what he thought about all these Premier season pre-season friendlies between Premier League clubs. Is it a good thing, a bad thing? You know, I think it's about like injuries. It's about the competitiveness between teams in your own league. Does it give an insight away to possible, you know, tactics when you play against them in, you know, in the league itself and the compete again? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, we've been involved with pre-season tournaments with Premier League teams before. They're neither good things nor bad things. They're just pre-season friendlies. They're about fitness. They're about gelling teams together. I don't think you're going to give away any particular secrets playing another Premier League team in pre-season. Personally, I quite like playing foreign teams from a selfish point of view, as I like to see us playing as many different clubs from around Europe as we possibly can. And as long as the manager feels that they're opposition to the right level and they're going to give a test it the right way, that's all that matters. So whether it's a Premier League team or not really is irrelevant to me. Personally, would I get wound up about winning an interesting sideboard ornament in Thailand like Liverpool did recently against Man U did rather against Liverpool? Don't think so. I don't think I'd get too worked up about that at all. It is what it is. That's what pre-season is about. It's about fitness and gelling the squad rather than worrying about who you're actually playing against. I think it's different if it is something that the Premier League want to use to stretch their reach around the globe. And then comes the question is how many of you are going to be off to America soon playing in tournaments there, as the American influence on the Premier League seems to increase. You know, and Leeds have gone all the way to Australia, that's a hell of a trip pre-season. You know, we did New Zealand the year, obviously, John and Liam passed, and it's a hell of a journey. And does it affect your pre-season? I think it bloody does, to be honest with you. I think keeping it nice and short and sweet and in Europe, in Austria, packing in what we can, keeping it together, keeping it tight makes far more sense to me. Also getting the players into that environment, that pitch, that ground in the training area. What a fantastic environment to go and kick a football in, and with that alpine backdrop and what have you. So yeah, that's what I personally prefer, and I'm not bothered about whether it's Premier League opposition or not.
Stu?
3 parts. Mostly agree with what Mitch is saying, but whether the other 19 teams league in our league like it or not, we're becoming a big noise internationally, and we're a big draw. And if we're playing Wolves, for example, in a game in Jacksonville, that'll make money for Wolves. But all these teams have been against us, so I'd prefer not to be playing against them but it will happen for sure. It's going to happen in coming years. But again, from a selfish point of view, as Mitch said, I'd love them to be playing other teams. There's so many ideas you can have. You can have a Bobby Robson Cup with like the Barcelona's and the PSVs. All the teams that Bobby Robson was involved with. There's so many things that you could do that would attract the top teams to us, and we could have our own tournaments. There used to be big games away to Rangers or Celtic, but sometimes that comes with the bad side of football as well. So maybe stay clear of that. But I think if you look at the demand for tickets for a friendly away to Benfica, the clamour for tickets, it just shows you like this is what we're wanting. You can tie it in. Let's start playing these European teams as we are, not just at home, but get to play them away, get some tournaments going out of it. And it's all about getting us fit. And it's a good test. But as I say, the higher our profile comes, the more likely it is it will be tied into playing against other Premier League teams in the future. So let's just enjoy what we've got at the moment.
Daz, I see you've got some viewer questions. Star, do you want to dish them out to the panel?
Sure. Yeah, plenty in here, including some of the answers that were guessed as well. But the first topic is going to be CEO because we didn't cover this. So there's Nanaman has mentioned the CEO. Lee is the appointment an indication of the drive for commercial revenue generation and potential for ground redevelopment or new stadium. There's another question, and kind of tie it all together. Paul asked about, is it going to be Greg's now in St. James's Park? Because he gives the fans what they want. And then there's Mike asked just thoughts on the new CEO. So who would like to go first on that one?
I can, if you like. I mean,
sure,
it was a surprise appointment, but a very good appointment. I mean, when I heard his name the other night, I knew who we were talking about. And you look at his pedigree, he was club secretary at Spurs, while they accelerated away from us in terms of commercial income. So it's something he's well aware of how that can play. He's had Atlanta United punching way above their weight in the MLS, way above what they should be doing, both commercially and on the pitch. And the praise for him from the fans, because he goes out there and he's hands-on and he interacts and he listens. And if you look at all the interviews he's done recently about looking at things from a fan's perspective, and he talks about, well, if I make a decision and I'm suddenly thinking, well, hang on a minute, if I was a fan and I'd be a bit pissed off about that, maybe I need to rethink the decision. That's a refreshing way to look at it. There's not many people in the game look at it that way anymore. But also, I think his experience of dealing with the American mindset of commercialism and the way the Premier League seems to be going with a very American-driven bias, I think it's not unrealistic to have somebody come in like that who knows how to push the buttons with somebody who comes from that side of the pond, and how they do business and want to do business is very different to how PIF do business. And so you're bringing somebody who's going to be bringing very different ideas to the table. And I think that's what makes it quite exciting for me. I think it's a shrewd appointment. There's obviously a little bit of history between him and Ashworth as well at West Brom. So again, it's putting people into places who are comfortable to work together, who know what their roles are, and have defined rules, and know when actually that's not my job, that's theirs. Let them get on with it. But this is how I can help them do their job better. And I think it's a very, very different mindset as to what's happened in the club even up until recently. I had a very interesting chat with somebody that today, which I'm still kind of trying to process a little bit, and I'm still trying to get some verification on some of the bits and bobs that were in there, regarding the whole clusterfuck that is Castori and the shirts and everything else. And one thing's for sure is, I think if we'd had our CEO in place, 6 months ago, that wouldn't have happened. I think that's quite clear from what I've been told. And like I say, I'm still processing some of that and still trying to get some verification on it. But that's the kind of thing to have in place that we need. So we'll make sure that things where they haven't gone quite so right for the new owners, we'll learn from the mistakes and we don't make it happen again. Simple as that. And so that is going to be a better way to serve the fan base and for want of a better word, the customer base that they're now dealing with, because that's what we are also, remember.
I just wanted to add what I found really interesting, having dug a little bit deeper on Darren Eales a little bit more, is how he built Atlanta United up from the ground up, right from the beginning, and even to the mascot on match days, even to the consultations about what beer is going to be sold in the stadium. Like, he has consulted with all of the fans all the way through. He's made the fans part of that process, and the fans that have talked so well about him have said he has built a community feel. That's exactly what we want in Newcastle United. And he
exactly what Newcastle is or should be, yes.
Well, yeah, exactly that. And what it hasn't been for the best part of 15 years. So the fact that he has the expertise and he's managed to do that at Atlanta United fills me with a lot of confidence that he's going to bring a lot of that to Newcastle United. Now, a lot of fans have said, there are certain things that you can do in the States that you can't do in England. But I tell you what, you guys, Stu, Mitch, have talked about it quite a lot in recent months about how many American owners are owning Premier League football clubs right now. And it won't be long until the Americanized way is brought over to the Premier League. Now, what you would want is an experienced CEO that knows how the American market works to be able to bring it over here in order to make it work in Newcastle. And I tell you, just the last thing, if it's going to work anywhere, it will work in Newcastle if he tries those things that he's going to try.
Tell you another connection that's there that I've just remembered as well. The first person I heard talk about Darren Eales was actually Peter Ramage. When I interviewed Rami on did a radio show over here in the UAE, and we had Rami on one of the shows and did a bit of an interview with him, and he was at Phoenix Rising at the time. And he'd been in discussions with Darren Eales about going to Atlanta from Phoenix Rising, and he's now at under 23. So again, there's more little connections there than you realise.
Yeah, regarding the new appointment, I hadn't heard of him. So up until Friday, I think we were live when the news broke. But since then, I'm probably not the only one who's done as much research as I possibly can into it. Well, I wasn't surprised to see how successful he's been, because it's the sort of acquisition that the owners would make. What Pete was just saying, just to carry on from that, it's a really simple idea. Well, sometimes the simple ideas are the best ones, and they're sometimes the most hardest ones to actually introduce. And what he's done is, in Atlanta, he's given the club to the city. Yeah. And they're now as one. It's their club. It's not just, I'm the owner. It's their club, and they're getting the biggest attendances in the league. And you can't really see the traditional teams there, but the ones that have been going longer, they've been out supported because there's such a community spirit in there. Quite right, the Saints, Newcastle's like that regardless. Yeah. But if things are going well and we're being listened to, I know there was jokes about Greg's in the stadiums and stuff like that. But, sometimes just the simple things, the easy wins that's often referred to. And the fact that if you look at I know I'm in danger of being repetitive, but the owners that we've got will get the best people for the jobs. Just because they have lots of money doesn't mean they know the answer to everything, but they'll employ the best people available to do that role, and they'll empower them, they'll back them. And it's great you've got that knowledge from the Middle East. You've got the knowledge within the UK, and it's no coincidence that the Reuben brothers are involved somewhere along the line. That just hasn't happened by mistake because PIF was short of money. They've been brought in for a purpose, for their certain expertise. To me, that points towards not just the ground expansion, but the improvement of the city. It's like a gift, because if we remember, the reason that PIF's been put into place is to make the country of Saudi Arabia less dependent on oil. And by 2030, which will be the 100th anniversary of Saudi Arabia, they want over 50% of the income to be coming from something that's not oil. And a very, very successful Newcastle team will go a long way to contributing that, especially if they've got the region where we've talked about things like motor tracks and top-notch golf courses, and you think it's with matches being put on the board, you think that's a coincidence as well. You know, there's so many things that are getting done, so many good moves, and now with the new CEO, he's got the knowledge of American business. He also, if you study how Atlanta have done, they've got very great links with South American talent, football-wise, and don't think he hasn't brought those phone numbers with him either. You know, and those will be passed to Dan Ashworth, and certain videos will be given to Eddie Howe and say, what do you think of this one? What do you think? It's all about growing to be this huge, massive club that we're all part of. And they're creating it for us. So that's what we have to remember. They're going to create this thing for us. And he's another cog in this wheel that's going to help this machine become, hopefully, in their opinion, it'll be unstoppable. So we're going to welcome a new CEO like that. He's top draw, and that could. But if asked me at 7, well, it's 7 this thing, but 6 p.m. UK time on Friday, I would have said I hadn't heard of the guy. But it's the shrewdness of the decision, and there'll be more. There'll be more people brought in, not just for the sake of it, just like they won't bring fans, new players in, like Everton did, just for the sake of it. We'll spend money on this, we'll spend money on that. They'll get the right people at the right time, at the right price, to help us improve. And we all benefit as fans, they'll benefit as owners, they'll benefit as CEOs for their own CVs. We're all going to win out of this. So I think it's fantastic.
Cheers, Shoot. And anyone that was listening at sea that picked up on the Morse code messages, thanks for that as well.
That's because the thing's bagging off me on when I was speaking.
I'm joking. Just also, anyone that's watching, make sure you hit that like button. And when Pete mentioned the mascot as well, I suggested the loaded mascot. We will offer the loaded mascot to Newcastle, and they can run with that. It seems to be pretty popular in the chat.
No, you're
Let's
right.
go.
You're right.
well, Pete, he might wreck up. You know, he might rock up.
Just imagine.
It was dreadful. The less we see of that, the better.
He's making a special appearance, Pete. Okay, Pete, we'll give you a question. This is a question to Richie and Pete. Do you think PIF will look at holding WrestleMania events in Newcastle in time?
Well, they're already over in Saudi Arabia. They've been over there for a number of years now. They were the kind of that was the kind of the beginning of it all. Really, with Saudi Arabia, even before the boxing, WWE was over there, and that was the big first deal. WWE are already over in Newcastle quite regularly, actually, because of the crowd attendances and how big they are. I think they're normally at the Metro Arena.
They're usually at the arena twice a year. It's usually they do a tour after WrestleMania, and I think they do one later in the year as well, about the October-November time as well. Yeah,
the WWE lives that they do around the country, it normally starts, or one of the first two are normally in Newcastle. Can I see it at St. James's Park? Yeah, for sure. Because the one thing that they guarantee when going to Newcastle is it always sells out. And if the WWE continues to build that relationship with Saudi Arabia, which it will, after a little bit of turbulence with Vince McMahon early on, I think Saudi Arabia halted a flight with all the wrestlers for a long period of time, which was big news. They actually, they're one of their events that was going live with Fox Sport the next day had to be kind of reshuffled and loads of extra wrestlers pulled in because they literally grounded them. But after that, the relationship's been okay. And do I see it at St. James's Park? For sure, because it's a guaranteed sellout.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the next question. And it's a topic we talked about on the Fully Loaded Transfer Show. So on that show we talked about Jack Harrison. Actually, I did do a bit more research on Jack Harrison. I kind of changed my mind a bit on him since then. But we also talked about Adama Traore, and I want to get Stu and Pete's thoughts on this. Would you take Adama Traore for in the 10 million mark?
No. That's not a quick answer. No.
That was my answer as well.
Mitch? I don't see the benefit.
Payment baby oil, babies. You know.
I think that was Chris's answer.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
At this match, said it myself.
Nice.
Is he any better than Murphy? And I don't think he is. I think statistically he may actually be worse.
The question
Was he better than Fraser? No.
The question you need to ask yourself is that if Wolves are looking to get rid of him, why would we sign him?
Yeah.
Simple.
There's been kind of two questions linked around the stadium as well, and I suppose with the whole season tickets and tickets selling out, and I know we have touched on it before with you, Mitch. I guess there's a question. I think I can't find the other question now, but it's around: should we start thinking about moving to another stadium, or do we look at extended St. James's Park and look at the ideas that I know you've talked about before, Mitch, and you as well too? What's your thoughts there on the latest?
Look, I think the time's never been better to forge better relationships in the city between the club and everybody who's involved in any process that will either help extend St. James's to where they want to be and keep with there, or to move, be that 400 yards up the road or a new site within the city. The last thing Newcastle City Council would want is for us to walk out of the city, for sure. There's no doubt about that. So I think there's probably never been a better time to start to reopen discussions about everything and put everything on the table.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a prime position to do that. And I think the council will be nuts if they didn't want to talk. And I just don't see that happening. And I think with certain things going on financially with the what I understand the unitary sort of sharing of services between the some of the councils, that's going to bring different financial pressures. And again, we've got owners who can spend a lot of money, and money talks.
Yeah, I think regarding the stadium move, if that's, I think long term, if we're going to fulfil everything, I think it's in inevitability, unless the Leazes Terrace conundrum gets solved. But if we have to move to a new stadium, it's easy fixed. It depends on where it is. I think the location is going to be pivotal in any conversation. But I think if they need to announce it, they should just get Bruno to say, right, we're moving stadium and this is where we're going to, and everyone just accepts it. Because he can't say it and get away with this. So I mean that's just putting a bit lightheartedness, because I know it's sometimes we can't get too nostalgic and too traditionalist. And if things don't change and stay as they are, as an old adage, but we are growing, and we can get into a debate about season tickets, how many people are on waiting lists, etc. I don't think it was 30,000 anyway, because I know there was multiple people doing multiple entries anyway. But I think 65,000 we could fill comfortably, and we haven't got that option at St. James's at the moment. And we touched on this on Friday, didn't we, regarding the safe standing. If it was only standing and it increased the capacity, that would be one way forward to negate the demand initially, or at least some of it. But again, it's not. It doesn't change the capacity at all. So again, I give my opinion then that we're just spending money just to tick PC boxes. We don't need to do that. You know, the board have all the fans back and love and affection. But if enough people want a standing area and they sign up for it, it's only standing, then go for it. But regarding moving grounds, I think the only way around it is just to shift it up, as Mitch just said there, just shift it up a little bit. So where the Leazes end is now, that would be the Gallagher end, put on Leazes Park and make it a green area where the stadium is. That's, to me, it's the only logical solution of it, trying to appease as many people as possible.
Do you know what, as well, Stu? It's totally right what you're saying, because if we kept the new stadium in Newcastle, you know, I'm not suggesting this is what we do, but you know, if we called it New St James or the New St James's Park, or St James's Park was integrated within you know the naming of that stadium, or we just went completely another way and we got, you know, a big massive sponsor, and then we were starting to see, you know, the money pumped into the players on the pitch, people would forgive that. People would absolutely, you know, forgive that. If we had a state-of-the-art stadium, you know, that was made for the fans, you know, the way
I
you
don't know,
do
Chris. I can't, and I'll never will speak on behalf of the fans and say people will accept it, you know, because everyone has their own thoughts on it. You know, as I said, it's a traditionalist thing. I can only ever offer my views on it. But if the bit I try and keep across is where the Leazes end is, if that was to be turned round and that becomes the Gallagher, it's still at the Gallagher. You know what I mean? And it's still on St James. It can still be St James's Park. If you look how Tottenham, they didn't really move that far for their new stadium. You know, it was still within the same area, and the fans went with it. You know, Newcastle fans don't have the copyright on we love our stadium. You know, every football fan has infinity to their original ground.
Yeah.
You know, but some things we have to change. You know, and if it's as close to St James's as possible to the point it can still be St James's, then like I say, that would appease the vast majority. But we'll never ever be able to placate every single person. But if we look at what needs the boxes that need to be ticked, are we growing? Yes. Do we need to have a bigger stadium? Yes. Can we fix St James's where it's going to be financially viable? I believe if they try to do it, they would have to spend as much money. It would probably cost the money to extend the stadium just to get it up to about 60,000. It would cost the club money. And in fear of saying the same thing repetitively, these people who bought us for a business, they understand they have to spend money to make money, but they don't make bad business decisions.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just going to say, okay, we'll build on here just to keep 3,000-4,000 extra, and it's going to cost us money down the line. So it's a huge debate, and I'm glad that we have people in place who will take the fans' choices or the fans' voices, and we'll try to please as many people as we can. But I think we all know we live in a social media world now, is you'll never be able to please anyone or everyone. You know, what you're going to try and do is do what's best for the club and what's best for the fans, and that's it.
Yeah, no, you're right, Stu. I mean, even now, you know, if we were to stay at St James's, there's fans who do want to move, they do want to build, they do want to go bigger. So even the people who want to stay, you've then got people who don't want to stay. So you're absolutely right when you say you can't please everybody.
No, if we wanted, I mean, St James's it's one of the most famous iconic grounds in the country. You know, you hear even people in the press talk about the love cup with the atmosphere and the fact it's in the city and everything else. It's got so many things going for it that we need to try and be as loyal to that as possible and try and be as close to it as possible. But also we have to drag it out of the 20th century and into the 21st century. And I know we've said many times that the stadium is to be shiny and brand new here and bigger and better than the other ones or the oppositions. But we genuinely do have a demand for more tickets. We generally do have a fan base that will only grow, not just in Saudi Arabia, not just in the Middle East, but worldwide. And these people will have the opportunity to come to St James's, but not if every single seat's taken. And we have people who refuse to move and won't allow us to grow. You know, we can't have the best of all worlds. You know, there's times we've just got to accept change. Sometimes we get used to it. You know, I still call them marathons, but I know they've been called Snickers for about 30 years. You know, there's multiple fruits and Starburst. You know, so I'm as old-fashioned as they come. But I get it. I totally get why people don't want to leave St James's Park. It has the memories that every one of us have had going in there for the first time. But at the same time, we're in a new era where we could create new memories. But let's keep it in the city. Let's keep as close to St James's as if we all get a new stadium. You never know, the council might bend to some special plans and something could happen with Leazes Terrace. You know, we never know, and that's conversations way above our pay grade, but they'll do what they can to make the stadium as accessible to the masses as possible. And that goes with Mitch's ideas of hotels there, making it 24/7 place, not just somewhere to visit once every 2 weeks. You know, if you had a hotel there, you have fans from, especially Saudi Arabia, you get a 5-star hotel there. That's exactly where they're going to. You know, and then you can do wedding events there. There's so much that can be done, but they've got the right people in the commercial department to do it. You know, so let them do their job, and they can't fix things overnight. But my God, they'll try to.
And that's a good place to end the show. So, first of all, what I wanted to say is thank you very much, everyone, for the 300 that stayed with us all night. However, there's only half the people actually like the show. So please, hit the like button on there. Helps us get the YouTube algorithms to higher in the NUFC search chart. But it also helps, if you've enjoyed the content that we've been putting out there over recently. We've had a lot of comment on Twitter. But if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the channel free of charge, and it'll help us to get towards 5,000 subs. And also, like a few of the people have tonight as well, if you really like the channel, you want to help us, put the great content that we do out every single week, you could also become a member of the channel as well. And that nicely takes us into our member draw. Now, we've had some really, really good comments in the chat and stuff like that on Mitch's specialised subject, T&F. So what we'll do is we'll actually go through the pictures first, and then we'll go through who they are. So the first picture is...
I like Derek Sharp's answer, which was Tennants and Fosters.
So, bearing in mind, this was out my mouth before I bloody had a chance to think about it. You know what I'm like.
As you can see, that's the first part. That's the tits, but obviously we need a fanny as well. But we've got to keep it. It's not just before the watershed still. So how about this?
When you move the picture, Daz and Mitch are there. It's not good.
So there's your fanny. But then obviously we're a Newcastle channel, so we've got to keep NUFC related. So it's tits and fanny NUFC version. So tits?
Yeah. All in one.
Tits?
Jesus.
You've been waiting all week for this,
fanny. So there you go. Mitch's specialised subject was tits and a fanny. So the winners, now there was a few people in. There's a few that were like literally there straight away, and I think that they must have had a few nights out with Mitch and Stu, because
don't bring me to it. I'm a married man.
Because we had two answers literally in within the first 2 minutes. Unfortunately, as we said, they weren't from a member, and the first person was Yano, tits and fanny. Then we had Neil Calver 2 minutes later, tits and fanny. Yano actually heard the second comment where we pitched it again, saying it wasn't a member. We were even telling Trulls what the answer was.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, right, that Trulls still didn't beat Lisa to it. But Lisa's so appreciative. I think this is basically what to say about all loaded viewers and all Newcastle fans at the minute. She's actually said because Yano got the original answer right, she wants to give the T-shirt to Yano. So Yano, congratulations, mate. Much appreciated the support there. Give any of the lads a DM, or you can go to Simon direct. Tell them what colour T-shirt you want, and your address, and we'll get that posted out to you.
I think Lisa should pick the colour for Yano.
Yeah. Should we get Lisa to pick the colour for you?
I think she should.
Right, well, Lisa, you send us a DM.
You have to send us a picture then of the T-shirt.
I tell you what was scary though, Mitch. Like,
what?
I don't know if you noticed it in the chat. Like, you asked the question, and Yano was just like tits and fanny straight in. It was literally, it was quick. It was a quick answer. It was.
Fantastic.
It was.
Hey, I know what Mitch will be saying. Great minds think alike, won't he? That's what he'll be saying. But one last little shout out I wanted to say before we leave tonight, and because obviously we do. Everyone knows that we are the shirt sponsor for Concert Reserves this year. They got their pre-season off to an absolute flyer yesterday with a fantastic 8-0 win yesterday.
Wow.
So,
right to the top.
Yep, lads, well done. Congratulations. As we said, we'll be following you throughout your journey this season and next season because we're a sponsor for the next 2 seasons. Obviously, I'm hoping that the result's better than we're expecting, but when you go against the opposition team, you start to doubt it when it's Snod's edge. But by all means, as we all know in football terms, you can only beat what's in front of you, can't you, lads?
Exactly.
So true.
It says, we had over 300 watching for the majority of the show. We've gone over just over the hour and a half mark now. So we're going to round it up there. Mitch, Stu, I would like to say once again, thank you very much for joining us on your Sunday and giving us up. Obviously,
My pleasure, mate. Always
a
enjoy
few hours
it.
ahead of us. But from myself, Daz, Chris, and Pete, thank you very much for joining us. And we shall see you later on in the week on Thursday for a fully loaded transfer show with Graham Bailey. With obviously Jordan Crone and Lee Davey as well. And then next Sunday, we will be back with the man, the legend, Sean Casey. Daz, do you want to see us out there?
Yep, and you never know where we might pop up along the way as well. That's how we roll. But thanks, everyone. Thanks, lads, as well. And see you later, everyone. Good luck.
Yes,
Good night.
everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye.